I'm originally from Rockford, Illinois, which is about 2 hours outside of Chicago. I was an outlier growing up. Most of my friends grew up Illinois or Wisconsin fans, and because of a distant relative, I grew up a little bit different. I grew up a Purdue fan, so I was, the one and only Purdue fan that lived in Northern Illinois at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah. But no, I grew up a Purdue fan. I love Purdue when I was growing up. I'm a huge Kyle Orton fan. No disrespect to Drew Brees, but I'm a huge Kyle Orton fan. And then the start of Matt Painter in the early 2000s up until obviously today, but was a fan since that time period. And then my life kind of took a little bit of a turn. I'm a little bit of a dreamer, and so I had a couple of dreams in life that I wanted to achieve. And the first one, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And so I decided to be a professional wrestler for a few years, and I really enjoyed it. Had some tryouts with the WWE, and then that came to the end of the road. And it was more so just not wanting to physically beat myself up for no money any longer. And I still love wrestling. I still enjoy it to this day. But then my life kind of took a little bit of a turn. I lost a job that I had working at a car factory. And so life literally had to change. And then COVID started. And right before that, I was finishing up wrestling and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and taking my life in a different direction. And I woke up on a Saturday morning and heard a story about a 20-year-old Purdue student that we would come to find out his name was Tyler Trent. And he was, dealing with a cancer diagnosis, and then the cancer had spread and it was essentially a life-threatening situation. And College Game Day did a story about Tyler. And
oh yeah, I think I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you being from a Big Ten school as well, there's not a lot of talking about Purdue unless it's basketball season. And so hearing a story about Purdue kind of perked my ears. I listened to the story. It's incredible. If you have a chance, go out and find it yourself on YouTube or anywhere you can find ESPN's distribution or whatever. It's an incredible story. It touched my heart, not only because of being a Purdue fan, but also, being a father myself at the time, and hearing what that 20-year-old kid was going through. And it kind of woke me up, to life, and realizing that this kid did more in, 3 months than I've done up through my entire life. And so I went to the game October 18th, 2018, Purdue versus Ohio State. Purdue was the underdog. Ohio State was number 2 ranked. Yeah, they were undefeated. They were destroying everybody. And there was magic that happened that night in Ross-Ade Stadium, and I was there. And then after the game, going onto the field and walking back to my car that night, it was like an epiphany that I had. And yeah, it was, Purdue and the football game and all the energy and all that. But it was a love that, that I had growing up that kind of reinvigorated itself that night. And I decided that I was going to go back to school. And so, took a little bit of time, but I was able to, I applied at Purdue and got accepted into the communications program. It's changed since then, but picked my whole life up after COVID, moved my entire family to West Lafayette, Indiana. And I started this journey going back to school and essentially reinventing my life. And it's that's the first portion of it. And it was a ride to get to that part. But, since I've been here in West Lafayette, it has just been dream after dream after dream coming true, and getting to, work in the sports industry and see things from in front of the camera and behind the camera. It's been incredible. And so that's kind of a little bit of an introduction about me and where I came from and how I landed here. I know that one of the questions you had was where did my passion come from for sports broadcasting? Where does that come from? And I had 2 dreams when I was a kid, and I talked about my dreams a little bit, but I had 2 dreams when I was a kid: be a professional wrestler, and get paid to go to sports, get paid to go to sporting events.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And so it's been a love, since I can talk, since I remember, cognitively remembering sports on TV. And I have a number of family members that can attest to that, and the random statistics and stuff just being thrown out at family dinners where, hey man, can you just stop? Like, Sports Center ended an hour ago. We don't need you to keep going. And so the love has always been there.
Yeah.
But similar, I'm sure, to you and in your journey and how you've kind of come along is the how and the where and kind of landing in a department or in a section. And I love being on camera. I love being on air. I love talking about sports. It's fun. It's very similar to the professional wrestling, not in the sense of the physical activity, but just like you are when you're a professional wrestler, you're essentially controlling a crowd, and that's kind of what we do as broadcasters. Is it's our job to direct the crowd or the listeners at home through the broadcast and giving them the information about the people that they need and about the venues and the space and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's storytelling. You know what I mean? And we're telling stories and keeping these listeners engaged.
Yeah.
And how we're doing that. And that's a passion of mine as well. And so that's kind of what got me into doing this. Again, the why, the where. It's changed a little bit. Initially, I wanted to be a journalist and be a news writer, beat writer, and write stories. And that's kind of evolved as I've gotten older. But the passion and the drive to want to do this hasn't changed.
Yeah, I gotcha. I feel like I mean, I've been doing this series. It's the 50th episode of Just Vibing, and I've talked to a lot of guests that are coming into the sports industry or have been. Most recently, I had Anish Shroff, who does play-by-play for the Carolina Panthers. That was like definitely my most high-profile guest. But I mean, I think one thing I've learned is like everyone kind of has a little bit of a different path or passion. But I mean, everyone, it starts when you're young, and I mean, that passion develops. Like for me, like I think I kind of had the opposite like journey of you in a way where like I guess I wanted to do play-by-play professionally, and then kind of realized that wasn't maybe not going to happen. But I did a Rutgers sports radio, so that kind of brought me into the whole world of sports media. And I did some games, I did talk shows, like the whole 9 yards, and I really enjoyed it. And from that like gave me the inspiration to start my podcast, and eventually kind of went into writing, which I also had done like some internships to just gain more experience in other areas of the field, even though that's not what I wanted to go into then. But I kind of realized I was pretty good at it, and I still do like I said, I still do the podcast, so I still kind of have the speaking stuff going too. But yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, growing up as a kid, like very passionate about sports, still am, watch all the time. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy like discussing. I mean, anything like on Twitter or like Instagram, like whatever it is, like with my friends or just with people, learning about other people's takes, like all of that's really fun. But I mean, I actually didn't know that about you being like, a professional wrestler. So I mean, that's certainly like an interesting. You definitely, had two, like you said, you had two goals. You went for both of them. I guess what was your like experience like doing that? Because I feel like that's also a very, interesting thing.
It's very similar, and anybody who's done both or seen both can kind of attest to this, but it's very similar. You're on the road a lot, you're traveling a lot, you're in cars, you're with, working with people that you work with and driving, from town to town. But it's honestly the experience that I got from that I kind of still use or have carried over to this genre is essentially you have to sell yourself. Again, as much as we would like for there to be a network executive out there that's looking for you or I, like that's not valid. We have to put ourselves out there and basically sell ourselves to someone that wants to pay for our voice, our intellect, our,
right.
For you, your podcast, that kind of stuff. Whenever you drop the numbers on that, it's selling ourselves.
Yeah.
And again, essentially that's what the pro wrestling industry is it's very difficult to just wake up one morning and all of a sudden you're on TV. It's very similar to the broadcasting. Is you don't wake up tomorrow and you're on TV, or you have a your own show on TV tomorrow.
You have to.
So
yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I drew from that. Is just it's very similar, and that's one of the things I enjoyed about the wrestling. It's the same thing I enjoy with the broadcasting, is getting to travel, getting to see different places, getting to meet different people. And like kind of what you were saying with this podcast is getting to hear a different experience or different people's journeys along the way. And that's the closest thing I can relate with the two of these.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in different ways they are kind of similar in the fact that you get to travel, like meet new people, stuff like that. Obviously, wrestling, you're competing, and you said you also like you tried out for the WWE as well.
Yeah, I had a couple of tryouts with WWE when I was wrestling. One of them in Florida and one of them in Ohio. And basically that's how they recruit new talent is they go from these town to each town, and in each one of these towns there's smaller independent wrestling organizations that have guys similar to pro sports coming up through the minor league system or coming up through a developmental program. And basically it's just you get a tryout match, you get 5 minutes, and then later on that night if they need an ambulance guy or a police officer to get beat up on air, then they dress you up in a costume, and since you're the wrestler and you know how to do it already, then they kind of throw you in there. But it's again, like it's another one of those like dream moments, like as a kid, like
that's true.
Backstage, like trying out, but still backstage and getting to see that, and you get to see everybody that you grew up watching on television.
I know. I've watched a little bit of WWE, and like it's really entertaining. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just like I'm amazed by like, I mean, sometimes it's like a little scripted, but it's just so fun to watch. And I mean, some of the moves that like take place on a nightly basis are just like pretty incredible. It's like hard not to watch in a way. So I mean, it definitely brings a lot of flair and a lot of fun to the to the whole thing. And so many people like are big fans of it, and I finally like understood why by like getting myself to actually watch it like in depth. So I mean, definitely very entertaining and definitely very fun. But
it's just like anything else on TV. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and it's not for everybody. So
definitely not. But like one time I was with my friend watching March Madness, and I think we flipped the channel to the wrestling, or like I was just flipping around, and like we ended up staying on that for a good like 20 minutes, and I was like this is like, it's silly, but it's like it's so much fun. I see why like it has such a fan following. Like I used to always be like, oh, like it's not even real, but like I mean I could see where the passion comes from and why so many people enjoy it. I mean I'm sure I would definitely be into it if I really gave myself that kind of time the way I am with sports. But I guess I mean
I think you'd be into it if you did it.
That too. Then I'd definitely 100% be into it if I did it even more so. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, 100%. I mean, I guess another thing that you brought up that I found very interesting was like that Purdue Ohio State game that you mentioned you went to, and because I remember like bits and like the story behind it, like the kid that you're talking about, like I think he said on the broadcast, like, all I want is like a Purdue win or something along those lines. And they were big underdogs, right, against Ohio State. And not only did they win, they blew them out that game. And it was like, it was a big shocker. It was like a huge story. It was like one of those weird, like Big Ten West wins over, because I know Iowa also did it to them a few years ago. And it was just, I don't know, it was like one of those special moments. So, I mean, like, I guess like, what was it like for you to like be like, you kind of already talked about it. What was it like for you to be at that game and experience all of that like firsthand?
It's again, like I've tried talking to other people about it. It was a levitating experience. Like I wasn't there. Like yes, I was there physically, but I'm saying like the whole time I was there, there were sitting in the stands, there were other Purdue fans sitting next to me, and we kept looking at each other and was like, when's the bad thing going to happen? When's the game going to when's Ohio State going to break our hearts? Like it's been a good night up to this point.
Right.
It was a religious experience, if you will, because it was just everything was so unbelievable that it was happening, and everything was tied back to Tyler. And
that's like a cool part.
And the end of the interview that he did for ESPN, it was pretty much ESPN saying this cancer is terminal, and if you could have anything in life, what would you pick? And like again, health, anything. And this kid's like, Purdue's going to beat Ohio State next week. And literally you could just see them. I mean, the ESPN camera people were like, this kid's crazy. Like, this isn't going to happen. And that's what, and that kid sold the stadium out. Cause I mean, everybody he said that. And from,
No, like that. Yeah. I was just saying, like he said that and then it happened. So, I mean,
but no. And that's, honestly, like that was the driving force of me coming back to Purdue and me coming to school here. And, starting this journey here was Tyler, and Tyler and his story was a main catalyst of me wanting to do that, because it was motivating to me to, hey, listen, like I should stop feeling sorry for myself and feeling sad about what's happening in life, and just figure it out, because this kid knew he was not going to live and did something and figured it out. And so that hasn't changed, and that portion of my story that night, like that is the driving force, kind of what started me in this direction and started me on this path. And like,
Yeah, that is
I,
such a cool
yeah,
origin story, honestly. Like, I mean, like I said, I've heard pretty good ones. I mean, I don't think mine's like quite as good, but I mean, I would say like I also kind of had an interesting path because like I was never really around like sports media. Like none of my friends did it. I was kind of advised not to really go down that path and stuff. But I did other stuff. I did like music. I was really like I did piano and I did marching band, like a concert band. So I did marching band in college a couple years, and that's when I was always a big like professional sports fan. I was never really into college athletics. I mean, not Rutgers wasn't really all that good at that time, and even if they were, I don't know how many people in my town like really followed it anyway. But I mean, they were also pretty bad. So I mean, it just I never really like had that interest. But I guess being there, seeing it up close, I was just like, wow, this is like amazing. And now like I mean, I've become not only such a big Rutgers fan, but college like football fan. Like I like basketball, like a lot of the other sports, but I mean, I've like fallen in love with college football. Like I'll watch like any game. Like it's just I don't know. There's something special about the passion behind it. Like kind of like what you were mentioning with that Purdue game, like where like anything can happen. That kind of vibe. Like in some ways, like I like it better than the NFL now. Like which I probably never thought that was gonna happen. But I mean, that kind of guided me into a path where I joined sports radio, and that opened the door for me to write and podcast and do stuff that I'm still doing. I'm still like, I came back even after my graduation with, I'm still involved with like On the Banks now. We started our own podcast, and I'm kind of on the other side of, listening to the podcasts that I used to listen to. And I mean, I still listen to them, and now I'm kind of on the other side where I have enough knowledge to kind of give back. And I feel like that's really cool how it's kind of come full circle for me within like 3-4 years of like really starting to follow the team and learn. And like now I'm able to give it back to people who want to listen and or read in my case. But I mean, I mean, I think that's, I mean, like I was saying, like I think that's a pretty cool. But for you, that being like kind of a moment that launched your desire to come back to Purdue and start doing broadcasting. I mean, that's like I mean, obviously that's like a really cool story. And I mean, it seems like it also launched a lot of things like with your career. I mean, I guess we could jump to that because I did want to like focus a lot of the episode on the stuff that you've been doing. Like obviously, I mean, with Big Ten Network Plus, like, I mean, I guess how did you like get your start with that? Because I know some of my friends who did like the radio, did like WRC, they also are in the Rutgers like BTN Plus program. Did you like ever do like radio first or like play by play? Like that's how a lot of people like kind of moved over. Did you kind of like get your start like on and behind the camera for BTN, or did you just go right into like the play by play side of it? Like how did that like all kind of come together for you?
So again, happenstance, random chances, falling in the right direction, kind of a thing. When I moved here to West Lafayette, I started going to school here. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and like kind of what you're mentioning, getting into radio or the TV that they had here, like I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I found the Big Ten Student U program, the Big Ten Plus Student U program, and just reached out. I reached out to the head of the program here at Purdue, Corey Palm, and he and I had a conversation, and he asked me what I wanted to do and what my interests and passions were, and then said, "Hey, do you want to do a broadcast on Saturday?" Pretty much just throwing me into the fire.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
craziness, but I've seen it happen. That's the way that he does that here, and he's done that with other broadcasters and guys that I've worked with in the past, and my peers of mine that are still here right now. But just, hey, listen, if you want to do this, here you go. And so I did a Purdue wrestling meet on a Sunday afternoon, and I think I said 3 words. And after the broadcast, I did the broadcast with my boss. And after the broadcast, he asked me if I still wanted to do this, and I said, "Well, absolutely, I love this. What do you mean? Why are you asking me?" And he's like, "Well, you said 3 words the whole time." And so, but dove in head first. I fell in love with it right away.
Right.
And I kind of went from there. No previous radio experience. I did a couple of play-by-play spots for some wrestling shows, but other than that, nothing, no prior experience, and kind of dove in head first, and have been learning on the fly basically for 4 years. And it's, I wouldn't trade the experience that I've had for anything. It's been incredible. And I think 6 sports now. So at Purdue, we do soccer, women's soccer, wrestling, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, softball, and baseball. And then occasionally in the wintertime, we'll get a swimming and diving meet. But 6 sports. I've done both positions, both play-by-play and analyst. I'm more passionate about play-by-play and have kind of focused my direction more towards play-by-play. And that's kind of how I got started, and just went from there. And Purdue Student U is majority or 99% student based. So even the broadcasters are all sourced from the school and in the program. And I think that maybe you can touch on this with how your school was, but that's the one thing I really like about Purdue, because I know some schools, they have professionals that come in, and I think that takes away from the students that are trying to do this.
Yeah, I believe at Rutgers how it is like, I mean, I was never really part of that particular thing, but I mean, like, based on like what I know, like I think like if some of the really good students would go on air and broadcast, but most of them were used like behind the camera, which is a lot of people, they learn a lot of different things, like, all the directing and all the shots. Like, again, like I don't really like have that much experience, but yeah, I mean, lots of students would do that, and then maybe like after graduation or down the line, like, they'd come back and do that. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess for you guys, it was probably like maybe a little bit different, unless they were like really good. Like, we had one guy who was our sports director at the radio station who ended up and he was good enough to like go on, so he would do some. But I mean, even he would like end up directing a lot too. But I mean, for most of the people, it was that like more professional oriented, I would say, in terms of the people actually on the air. But students were like behind the camera, which is kind of what they told me when I was like looking, like when I was like interested in it. They didn't really take too many of the people at the station at the time, I guess, in the actual thing itself. But I mean, based on the people who were there, yeah, a lot of people behind the camera. If you're like really talented, they would put people on the air. But I mean, I guess for you guys it was a little different, because like seems like almost like everyone from like behind the scenes to on the air, play-by-play analysts, like the whole package, like sideline, like everyone was like pretty much a student, right? Like, based on what you're saying.
Well, and that's honestly, and if people listening, or your fans, or your listening audience, or whatever, I'm selling Purdue. Like, that's what I'm selling here, because that's
fair.
I personally feel that it's the best way to go about it, by having it be student run. And that's not just because I'm doing it or I'm a part of it, but I feel that like kind of what you're saying about whether you're good or not, you don't know until you're on the air.
That's true. The only way you get good is by doing reps and stuff like that. So.
And I won't, like, honestly, somebody else can go find it and look it up and listen to it and make fun of it. That's fine. I won't go back and listen to the stuff I did my freshman year, because it's not as good as what I did last game, or last year, or the year before that. And there's a growing process that's needed when you're doing this, and that's not just for on-air positions. That's camera people, that's director, producer, that TD, those kind of people. Like, those positions, the only way you get better is doing more reps. And I hated hearing that. Trust me. Like, my freshman year, when I felt like I was doing great, and then I realized I wasn't. And it's the hardest thing to hear from somebody, is to say, hey, listen, you just have to do more reps.
I know, yeah, like the whole getting cleared process was like, and they're like, you have to produce, and you have to come in, and you have to do this and do shows, and like you have to do games off of YouTube. And I'm like, then there's always like something that, even if you think you're doing good, like there's things you can obviously fix, like you can never stop learning, especially in the beginning stages here. And then radio versus TV, it's like a whole different, like, I've been used to like TV broadcasts my whole life, and radio now you have to say, like, like I always like, what I mean? The excitement has to be different. And then like, like you have to say what yard line they're on. You have to say what side of the field. You have to say whether they're going like east or west for football. Like, you have to say whether they're going out on the left or on the right. And I was like, I'm thinking north and south. I'm not thinking of all of that. And you have to like be able to, pick, you have to be able to learn all of that. And the more like you do, then like, it becomes more, your base becomes like higher, so you have more of that under your belt. So then now you can kind of focus on the next thing, and you can maybe add in like which side of the field they're going to, or whatever the case. But like, I guess the point is like the more reps, like whatever it is, like the more reps make you better. And sometimes it is a tedious process. And like I think I ended up realizing I was actually better on the analyst side, because I've a analytic mind, and I love studying the game. So I was actually able to do color like a lot easier with a lot less practice. than play-by-play, which is like what I wanted to go into. But we kind of like we kind of did a little bit of both. So kind of we usually had one person do a half of each, so we got practice on both of them. So it was pretty good. And then we had some people doing sideline reporting too if they wanted. So I mean, yeah. And then we had people producing every week. We had people, so people learn how to do that, doing the talk shows, pregame, postgame, halftime. And even though I didn't particularly always like having to do that, I mean, it was still fun, and we still got to be part of the game day, put people on the air. A lot of people always wanted to run the radio board. So I used to I did that sometimes, and I ended up cutting highlights like a lot of the time. I got pretty good at that. And, we each kind of like found like, well, what we were good at and what we weren't, and, had to like work on the rest. But I don't know. I mean, it's just fun being like, I guess, involved in a way with like the sports, like beyond being a fan. Like, I think that was a cool part for me, like whether it was being in the band or being a radio member or even now writing. Like, it's always cool to be able to take it a step further and bring my own original takes and analysis to the package. And yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy doing that, because it feels like you're part of something that's bigger than just, oh, like I'm just watching the game. Like, now you're like contributing, and I feel like that's a really cool part of being like a journalist or a media member or anything like that.
Well, and it allows you to like, be up front in part of the game essentially, and not an athlete on the field, but again, whether it's radio or writing a story about the game or a feature on one of the players,
right?
I mean, that is the fun part, and again, you get to see things closer than other people get to, or other fans get to do. It's there's not an industry like it. I know that.
I know it's really cool to like be in the booth or be like, in the press areas or like all that kind of stuff, like, having the headset on, like doing all those, like, I don't know, it's different. Like it's just definitely very different. I mean, I'm looking forward to kind of, like with On the Banks, like what my experience is going to be like writing, regularly during the season. But I mean, I guess I wanted to get back to like, I guess, what was your experience like? I mean, you mentioned all these different sports like volleyball and basketball, wrestling, soccer, softball, baseball. Like, I guess, what's the experience like doing that? Because you've been doing that for like quite a few years now. Is it like different, like calling like each sport, or does every sport kind of get the same amount of like attention? Like, I guess, what's your experience been like doing that? Like all six of those, really?
Every sport definitely gets the same amount of attention. If I'm, whether it's soccer or volleyball into the basketball or, baseball, softball, if I'm calling the game, whether play-by-play or analyst, each sport gets the same amount of, time and effort and energy. I've done more baseball. I've done more baseball and volleyball than anything. So I have a newfound love for volleyball, especially Big Ten volleyball.
It's one of the best in the nation.
Oh man, getting to see it firsthand. I love volleyball, and there's nothing better than a volleyball game in the Big Ten. Purdue, obviously, Holloway Gymnasium. It's one of the best environments in all of college volleyball, and probably only behind a couple of Big Ten powerhouses above us, which who those are. But it's incredible, and the last few years have been incredible. We had so many great players that have come through here, and I know that Purdue's kind of in a little bit of a change right now with the departures of Eva Hudson, Chloe Chacoin, and Lizzie Carr, which, I mean, that's a tough hit to Purdue, but they tried to rebuild during the portal, so it's going to be exciting to see how that turns out this year. But volleyball is definitely something I've really enjoyed. I've also broadcast the first two rounds of the last two NCAA tournaments. Purdue's hosted the last 2 years, and so we have our broadcasting crew and our production crew. We've done the last two first and second round NCAA volleyball tournament games at Purdue, so that's been an experience as well, and getting to see that at essentially the highest level, because at the end of the season, that's the end of the year tournament for them, so that's like their biggest thing. Nothing like it. Enjoyed a lot. And then the other sports, again, each sport's different. Obviously, you know that if you've called different sports, each sport is different,
right,
and the way that the game is played and the way that you kind of have to feature people and feature certain athletes. And baseball, there's more guys, and so you're featuring a couple different guys. But for me, it's the same. I love all of it. I'm passionate about all of it. There's no misstep. There's no, oh, it's just soccer this week, I'm going to take the day off. I prep for everything.
Right,
I give everybody the same effort and energy, and the same with my broadcast as well. And it's a little bit different because obviously different sports, different energies, different, big moments, things of that nature.
Right.
So that's a little bit different, but I mean, again, that's just specific to the sport. And it's not an indicator of, me changing something for it, each sport to the next. It's been awesome this year. This past year, we had 3 or 4 plays from our games get put on SportsCenter Top 10. There was back in November in the NCAA tournament, there was a save made by Allie Hornung in the end of the game, and it was unbelievable. It was number one that day on SportsCenter Top 10. Incredible. This year in baseball, there was 3 walk-offs, 2 of them in baseball, 1 of them in softball, and I was fortunate enough to be the play-by-play on the call for those 3 games. And those, that's
right. I know that's pretty sick.
Yeah, you can't take that away.
Yeah.
But I honestly, the last 4 years have been incredible because of the athletes at Purdue and because of the sports at Purdue. And it's been incredible to be fortunate enough to lend my voice to those sports and all the great things that have happened over here the last 4 years here. And obviously you doing this as well, or you've done some version of this that, like, when the team is winning and when the games are more, when the team is
better, yeah, when
it's more exciting and it gives you more, things to stick your teeth into and talk about and kind of show off your prep a little bit more. But yeah, I love all of it, man. And I've jokingly said this to people, and a couple people have asked, but if underwater basket weaving was a competitive sport on ESPN 8 The Ocho at midnight on a Sunday, I'd want to broadcast it. Like,
you just like the art of like,
yeah, I love it, man. And it's a respect, it's a love, like knowing what these athletes do to prepare for the sport that they're playing in, and then doing it at the level that they do it at. It's, I love it, and I love being able to see it. Yeah.
Like just describing like the action and bringing like, I guess, like a picture to to people listening at home or watching, and providing your own like analysis takes and all of that. Like, yeah, it definitely is fun. It's something I've wanted to do for like a long time too. So I guess being able to do that, and like you said, when the teams get better, it's more fun. Because like one of my calls, like I got to do when Rutgers played like Ohio State again. They were like number 1 coming in, and Rutgers was fresh off a bowl or clinching a bowl, and like there was, I guess, a lot of hype, even though like I think people knew it's probably going to win, but I mean, it was still a big team. And I guess, I don't know, for some reason I also ended up kind of liking like Ohio State a little bit on the side. So it was like even more like kind of fun for me a little bit. But Rutgers played a really competitive game. They're up 9-7 at the half, which I don't think anyone like could have imagined. Obviously they didn't win, but I mean, like I think it went as well for Rutgers as just about as people would have thought. And I think that that definitely added like flavor to the broadcast, and trying to analyze the decisions of whether they should go for a field goal or try to get into the end zone, which last year Ohio State, nobody could get into the end zone on them in the red zone. So yeah, it was just very tough. But I mean, they last year they were even better. But I mean, they're always like a powerhouse. So for Rutgers, I mean, it was like a struggle. Like, are they going to be able to put on enough points or not? Like, I was trying to like make those calls, like, as the analyst, and like it kind of fell apart because when they ended up getting intercepted, returned for a touchdown, the wheels kind of fell off the bus. But I mean, then again, like getting to see like the premier talents of Ohio State's players on the field, talking about like Marvin Harrison, and I think those, I don't know, I don't know if those, it might have been CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison, and they're all the guys on their defense that were like absolute studs. And like, I mean, it was just definitely really cool to see. And then especially where Rutgers was at the time too. I mean, getting better each year. I followed the team leading up to that, and already being bowl eligible, so the pressure is kind of off, but getting ready for a big game. So it's definitely cool. I mean, the bigger the game, the cooler the moment. Like all that kind of stuff too. But it sounds like I mean, it was definitely a really cool one, because it was like my first ever time I got to do football, and I was like pretty stoked about that being. It was kind of, I had like a tough process getting cleared, and like it took me a lot longer than I would have anticipated. Like, so I was kind of like anticipating maybe doing like Temple or Wagner that year as like my first break-in, but like it kind of didn't really work out. And I talked to them, and they're like, hey, like we want, like you've been producing a lot, you've been like working hard at this, like we want to give you like the Ohio State game as like a color analyst, and we'll take care of the play-by-play. And I was like, that's still pretty sick though, like I was like, it's gonna be a great opportunity. I mean, it was definitely a really fun one. So definitely something pretty cool. I mean, I don't think that many people get to start off with that big of a game. So I mean,
No.
definitely, yeah. That usually, I'd have to start with like a Wagner or a Temple or something like along those lines. Most people would, but I mean, like, I guess I kind of got lucky in some ways. I don't know. It was a fun one. It was definitely a fun one. I did some basketball games too. I mean, for Rutgers. So I mean, that was I think I actually did like one of the I think my first basketball call was Rutgers women's versus Purdue, which was like yeah, I forgot if they won or not. Like Rutgers women's basketball wasn't all that great. Purdue, they're both middle of the conference teams or at that point, but it was still pretty cool to be able to. I don't know. Basketball just kind of flows to me easier than football because like there's less players and it's more. I get the nuances of the game. Like it comes to me a little bit easier. I don't know why that is exactly. Maybe it's just an easier concept and I don't know. I also play basketball a little bit. That probably has maybe something to do with it. I watch like the NBA a lot, like casually, like besides even my teams, because it's just a really fun sport. So I guess that all kind of just goes into the flow of things. But yeah, no, play by play is definitely a lot of fun. Doing color analysis, also like a lot of fun too in a different way. Because you're really like the mind behind like what's going on. But another thing that I saw that you were doing, you're a PA announcer for Purdue softball, for 8 games last year, and I was seeing somewhere like on LinkedIn that someone like who also does play by play and PA they recommend it because I guess the two of them are different skill sets, but I guess they kind of go hand in hand because I was like at Rutgers games and stuff like that, like we'd always hear the PA announcer for football and like they have like a pretty fun role. It's like a little bit like of a relaxed version of play by play where you're kind of just calling out like like the highlights and like stuff like that, and they tend to have some fun with that, like when it's a touchdown like for the home team versus the away team, like there's always be like such a stark contrast because like when the away team score they just be like they'd be like touchdown Penn State like really quietly, and then obviously it's a home touchdown, it's like a big deal. So but me and my friends used to always make fun of it. But I mean, yeah, PA announcing is definitely cool. I guess what's the difference between like doing that versus like play by play, and how does being a PA announcer like help develop like your skill set in play by play?
Honestly, I think it's just a voice exercise. Because I mean, yes, obviously when you're in season, the PA work that I did, it was during fall softball, so it wasn't during Purdue's regular season. So it was a little kind of it wasn't as tense, if you will. It was a little bit less. It was
Yeah.
more of just kind of like some games that they had. But to be honest with you, for me, it's just a voice exercise because I'm essentially just saying the player's name, the position,
Right.
jersey number, that kind of stuff. And with softball, it's a little bit different because there's not as much action going on. So I'm guessing that someone who was doing some PA work either in football or basketball would have some more to say.
Yeah, they
Uh,
have like all the hype moments and
yeah,
everything.
the
Or they just
first
be like,
down.
it's a first down, like, like Dremel catches it for first or whatever it is. Yeah. Like, there'd be like a way of doing it, but they'd be like, the pass is cut by Dremel and that's a Rutgers first down. And then like, the whole band would do like the whole chant and like, the fans would do. So, I mean, it's just cool to like, that's the voice that kind of boomed all over the stadium. And I was like, it's really fun. I mean, and you get to bring your own like personality to that role a little bit too. I feel like more than even like play by play. I feel like so in some ways I thought it was always like pretty cool to be a part of that.
It definitely is. And I'm the same way. I enjoy, going to places and knowing who that PA is going to be. Like the Carson, who is the PA for Purdue men's basketball, Purdue football, pretty much, anytime there's a big game at Purdue, Carson's the one doing the PA, but, the entrance that he does for Purdue men's basketball and like the way he does that,
Yeah, that stuff exactly.
if he's not there, like there was 1 or 2 games where and he got sick a couple years ago, and he missed a game or two, and I was at that game, and then when the intros happened, I didn't hear that voice, and I'm like, oh man,
Okay.
something's missing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get the full experience because Carson wasn't here. So I definitely like the good PAs for sure. Like, I love. I mean, they add to the experience, and again, like, I'm sure at Rutgers the same way. Like you said, getting to do the first down here at Purdue, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 first down.
Yeah, or the third down chance, like big at Rutgers, like leading that off, and the fans, like I'm sure you know what they say, but like I mean, just leading that off is like obviously like it's third down, like that whole thing is just it's pretty hype. Third down at Rutgers is definitely a fun one. I mean, it's big like everywhere, obviously, but the way they set it up with the Metallica and all of that, and basketball too, you like the like the way they introduce the starting lineup, and it just like adds like I don't know, it just adds like fun and flavor to the game. It makes it like super hype. It gives the home team that deafening like advantage. They egg on the crowd, and then the energy from like I guess being in the band, like I could kind of we feed it off of like the energy from the student section and the energy from the cheer and dance team. Like it all kind of like and the fans around us. Like I mean, like we had the easy part because we had the instruments, but I mean like getting to feed off of like all that other energy. I'm like I would always say like we need them as just as much as they need us, and like it really was great to have like be around so much passion because sometimes it's hard like so yeah, I mean it all adds flavor to the home experience of a sporting event, which I really liked.
We can't gloss over this because again, you're a Rutgers guy, you got the R hanging behind you, obviously got me some Purdue stuff behind me, but like
right.
I hate Rutgers, man. Like I'm serious.
Yeah,
like
it's like the death of college
football
teams and whatever.
Football team's fun. I have no issues with the football team, but having to come to
Jersey
Rutgers,
Mike's, yeah,
to play at Jersey Mike's in Piscataway, it's like they talk so much about how Mackey is like, the black hole of the Big Ten, and if you go there, you're never going to get out, like that kind of a thing. I agree that Mackey is tough to play in.
Yeah.
Man, nobody wants to go to Piscataway. Come on.
Yeah, the Ranked Reapers. Yeah, I know what you're talking about because the energy gets trapped in that building. Like I've been like many times. Like it is like when the team's playing well, it's like the energy like reverberates around the building. It's just like it creates like a deafening. Like there's a reason why they've knocked out so many teams, and like I don't think we completely get that with football. But with basketball, especially when they were like, doing pretty well. I mean, I could say the same thing about Purdue. Like I was listening to some of our radio broadcasts last year when the Rutgers went over there or just played them, and like Purdue was hitting 3 after 3, and I was like, oh man, like this is like not great. And obviously the team, with Dylan and Ace, like they kind of had a disappointing year and all of that. But that game, they kind of just got ran out of the gym. But yeah, no, I mean Rutgers, like to your point, like the basketball stadium, like when it gets packed and loud, like there really is nothing like that. There's probably not too many stadiums in the country with that kind of an atmosphere. So yeah, I totally agree with you there.
I'm telling you though, and I know you're going to talk about it here before we get out towards the end, but don't sleep on Rutgers this year in football, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm serious. Rutgers is going to have a turnaround year this year. I'm not saying they're going to win 12 games, but honestly, I think that it's going to be a big year for Rutgers football because your guys' head coach, dude. When he was there in the past, come on now, like that was he used to be the upset guy, like Rutgers upsetting #1 football teams when that guy was there.
Yeah, like Louisville and USF, like the heyday of the Big East. Yeah. I mean, it's in Rutgers lore, so everybody knows. But yeah, I mean, that's why I brought him back. So I mean, to get the team there. I mean, yeah, I mean, just the way he's been able to turn around, like how bad they were, like before he got back, just to be able to get them back to a team that's 7-6, 7-5, winning bowls. Like, I mean, being competitive against, better teams, like I mentioned, against Ohio State that year. I mean, they've definitely made a lot of progress. I mean, last year, like they kind of disappointed a little bit given the softer schedule. But like, I mean, they still managed to win 7 games and things got better. And, they played in a pretty good Kansas State team in the Rate Bowl. And I don't know, the offense has been coming together. It's been really fun to see. I mean, Rutgers has been very defensive oriented, and seeing them live in shootouts and go for 30-40 points a game. And like, I'm like, whoa, there's a passing offense here now. Like this is like with Ethan and the receivers, and like, this is like unusual for us. Like this is going to be something else like next year. I'm really excited. I mean, I definitely did want to get to that towards the end, but I guess on the subject of like football, I mean, like you also did like, the Purdue football kickoff and the Boiler Center. Like, what was your experience like doing those two things?
So the Purdue football kickoff, I started last season as the host of the pregame show. It's a 25-minute pregame show that Purdue puts out on Purdue Sports before the football games. Last year we did just the home games, and we did a live broadcast at the stadium. This year, it's been bumped up to 12 games, so we're getting the entire season. It's been incredible, kind of what you've mentioned up to this point, getting the ability to interview the football players, to be in the building, to kind of see how everything is put together, and then kind of lead the Purdue faithful, the fans, in the pregame show, getting them ready for the game. Last season, not so much because we were 1-11. So if you want to trade that 7-6, I'll take that. But hopefully this season, or not hopefully, it's going to change. Barry Odom, the new Purdue football head coach, came in this season, turning the team around. We're gonna have a new interview series coming out this fall in the pregame show. We're going to be sitting down with 12 individuals on the football team. We're going to be playing some video games, talking in depth with them about who they are, where they come from, and what we can expect as Purdue fans, or what Purdue fans can expect this season on the field from these guys. And so we have that coming in year 2. Boiler Center as well. Last year was the first year. We started in August. We did like 65 episodes. It's a 5-minute weekly Sports Center show that I host, distributed by Purdue Sports on their socials and on YouTube. And basically it's just 5 minutes. It's Purdue sports in 5 minutes. So, during the fall, obviously it's soccer, volleyball, football. And then as we transition into the fall, into the winter sports, basketball starting in November. And so two projects of mine that I've been really excited about, both of them, that I'm going to get year 2s of now. And it's another exciting adventure, getting to write shows and plan out content and keep it interesting every week, but also featuring and spotlighting every athlete at Purdue, not just the main sports, the main 5, making sure that everyone gets their moment, everyone gets their time under the sun. And that's been really cool. I've been enjoying it, being able to do that. And so getting ready to start year 2 of both of those, excited to, continue some tradition and legacy at Purdue, with what we're doing. And hopefully at the end of this year, whenever I'm done, then someone else will pick them up and keep going. But 2 things that I'm really happy about, really proud of, and things that we're continuing to improve and get better at here at Purdue.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, like Purdue, I mean the 5-minute thing, I've seen some of those versions of that on TV, like the MSG and 90 or whatever it is, and then giving all the athletes their shine. That's one thing I've tried to do on the banks, we've I mean, I thought content was going to be kind of dry over the summer. There's always something to write about. I always have to keep checking. And I found out the women's rowing team, they did really well this season. They even performed in England. So we actually had a couple of their athletes on our Rutgers podcast to talk about that. So doing stuff like that, always is really nice, because sometimes they don't often get as covered as some of the other programs. But I mean, I would say they should be. They work just as hard, and their accomplishments are as good, if not better. And I think that deserves their shine. And then for the football kickoff, I mean, at radio, we had the Rutgers countdown. So it's always fun. It builds up hype, and we get to share our takes. And usually the guys would have interviews queued up with players that we do, and we sometimes we'd have fun with it. We'd look around the league. We do score predictions, I don't know, the whole 9 yards. For us, it was part of the production. The production crew got to do the shows, and they also got to do the on and off the air stuff. So it's kind of a lot going on. But yeah, being part of the production was definitely a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything I learned from that, and just getting to talk to people on the down low, during the making friends. And I guess the best part, definitely, I was always big on oh, we gotta have the game on TV so I can actually watch it. Otherwise, but then also hearing the announcers, sometimes they'd have a big call, and I'd be oh, what happened? Then I'd look up and see what happened. I was oh yeah, that's so stuff like that. I mean, and then our post game show, Nightline, we have the fans call in. That was one of my favorite things, because I'd always enjoy talking to people who are either at the game or watching, big Rutgers fans who followed the team for many years before we did. And so much passion, especially with basketball, but even for football too. I mean, they call in, and just getting to talk to them and see what they had to say and bounce ideas off them, read stats, all of that stuff was definitely meant a lot to me, because I was just I think we care about it. And then we hear all these people that are living and dying with the team, and I'm we gotta step it up. But it was always a lot of fun, and a lot of good conversations were had. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely doing the kickoff shows and all of that, and are a lot of fun. But something else that I thought was interesting on your profile was like you've had a lot of experience like being a statistician or a statistician for, like Big Ten East and Big Ten basketball, Big Ten football. I mean, I guess like what's that, what is that like all about? Like being a statistician, like, I guess getting stats for all the different games and stuff like that, relaying it to people. Like what is that experience like?
So on most television production crews, there's a talent stats and an official stats. And the talent stats person is usually brought by the network or by the broadcaster that's on the broadcast to feed the broadcaster stats during the game, lifetime stats, things that are happening, trends that are picking up, little notes, things like that. The position that I did that I've done a couple of times, or that you're mentioning, is the official stats person, and I'm essentially the second stats person on the broadcast. And my job is to work with the production crew, whether that's in Chicago or LA or Charlotte or wherever they're basing the show out of, and then also keeping in contact with the talent stats guy. So as the game moves along, again, trends, statistics that I pick up along the way, notes from the SIDs who you're in contact with during the games, for both the home and away team. And basically the goal being that you want to get those stats on the air. You want to get those notes, those nuggets on the air. And so it's something that I was able to start doing, again, working here at Purdue, and the different television productions that come in here in West Lafayette and then in Indianapolis as well. Also, the Big East one, I did a Notre Dame game up in South Bend. So it's essentially you're a supplement to the broadcast, and you're assisting the broadcasters with getting that information on the air and making the broadcast as good as it possibly can be, obviously, with getting that information out there and giving the athlete their due, especially if it's a milestone or something along those lines. But yeah, it's just basically a supplement position to the broadcast, ones that we don't have as student broadcasters. So usually we don't have a stats person, but one day maybe. But yeah, I'm joking. But obviously, it's for the higher end, professional broadcast that the stats person is helping feed those. I really enjoy doing it. Again, it's getting paid to be at an event that I would normally be at anyways. And so it's kind of what we've talked about this whole time. This whole theme of being at sporting events, being around sports, being at the games. And the stats person is just another position that does that. But for me as a broadcaster, it's essentially training. I get to work another game where I don't have the stress of the headset on, where I'm talking about this or telling the story. Now I can sit there essentially as I can sit behind the broadcaster and listen to them and how they call the game, while also learning myself how I would call this game or how I would say what stats I want to use. And so I feel like the stats person is definitely, more than the PA position that we talked about earlier, but the stats person is more helping you train for being a broadcaster or becoming a better broadcaster, because you're essentially getting to watch it as it happens in front of you. And there's no stress on you to have to do anything other than, collect information. So yeah, but I love doing that as well.
Yeah, the stat. Yeah, because we used to use something called like stat broadcast for like our things. They just have all the stats, all the updated score and everything like that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously all the professional, like the broadcasts, they have that. They usually have spotters. So there's like a lot that goes on over there. And like you're right. I mean, it's a way you can like you can pick other people's, you can like learn from like how they do it. And especially if you have you're trying to be a broadcaster yourself, and you are, then like, I mean, you can learn and you can compare like how do they do it versus how I do it, like what while also like getting the stats and being involved in a game day kind of thing. So it definitely gives you like more experience and a different kind of experience. It kind of like lets you look at things a different way while you're still like contributing. So yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I learned was like, in this is like, just say yes and like, do whatever opportunities like you can get your hands on, because you never know how they can help you and, like what foot you can get into the door. So it's just all about trying different things. But I mean, there's a lot of overlap with like how that can help you as a broadcaster. And I think another thing that I found really interesting was like, you being like a runner for like the Big Noon Kickoff, like productions, like, I guess like, what was that like experience? Like, I mean, personally, like I'm actually probably more of a Big Noon like guy than like College Game Day even. Like I don't know why, because I feel like they like kind of lock in a little bit harder on the analysis while it's still like very entertaining. But I mean, I like, I'll flip between both. But I mean, especially I guess sometimes I end up watching like a lot of Big Ten games as a Rutgers guy too, whether it's like Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan, or like whatever's going on, or sometimes even the other conferences. But I mean, sometimes I start my day on there. But I mean, what's it like being a runner? Like what are the responsibilities that like I guess go behind all of that?
Well, I don't want to cut you off, but we love all networks, right?
But yeah,
don't put that out there. Hey, don't put that out there.
Don't get me wrong. I love all the shows like Game Day, the Big Ten one. Like I'm just saying like personally because I know that's probably not the most popular opinion. I'm interested to see how it's going to change now, the dynamic, because Dave Portnoy's coming in. Obviously, big Michigan fan.
They're doing the same show.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be the same show, but he's going to add like.
I don't mean like same show like that they've done in the past. I'm saying if you look at College Game Day and you look at Big Noon Kickoff, it's the same show.
It basically is very similar. It's just a different like flavor, I guess. Like it's more like
Dave Portnoy is Pat McAfee.
Fit in. Yeah. They're basically
like, if you look at the cast,
yeah.
If you look at the lineup of both shows, they're essentially doing the same show, and they're competing against each other with similar characters.
That's true. That's true.
That's what's the craziest part. But honestly, it's the same thing as we talked about. You kind of did a nice lead in with talking about just saying yes, and the Big Noon Kickoff stuff was a just say yes moment. It was my sophomore year at Purdue. The Big Noon Kickoff was coming to Purdue for week 0 for Purdue versus Penn State, and
they needed a game. Interesting. Yeah.
They needed a student runner to work the whole week, and that was the first week of school. So again, like imagine like the first week of class, and hey, I have to tell all of my professors, hey, I'm not coming to the first week of class because I have something more important. And so I was reached out to, I committed to doing it, and then I worked the entire first week of school, that week 0 for Purdue versus Penn State. And incredible production. Fox is incredible. They hit it out of the park. It was awesome. The people I got to work with, all professional, all at the highest level. And I was fortunate enough to get to work in the green room of the show that week on the studio side. And so I got to work with basically the hosts, the show that you're talking about, Urban and Reggie and Matt and all those dudes, like basically got to work with them for the week. It was incredible. On top of it being at Purdue. And then because I said yes, because I did that week, which was awesome. It was incredible getting the seat up front. I ended up working Indiana versus Michigan later on in the year down in Bloomington at Indiana for Big Noon again. And then they brought me back again for the Big Ten championship that year in December, which it randomly ended up being Purdue versus Michigan.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
insane. So I got to work to do that. And then the statistics gigs we talked about, those kind of like fed in because Fox then, when Fox basketball would come to town or come around, getting those gigs because of that Big Noon Kickoff gig. And then the following year, I think it was 2022 was Deion's first year. I got to go out to the
Colorado game. Yeah.
Right. I got to go out and do 2 weeks out in Colorado, and as a travel runner for those 2 weeks, and see Deion's first game and do that and work out in Colorado in a different location. And so my time at Fox was incredible. Everybody there was awesome. Crewing people, everybody was awesome. It was, it's part of the reason why I've enjoyed being here at Purdue and in the Big Ten is because, Big Ten Network's a sister company or the sister program of Fox and that. And so it's been cool to get to do that and work and see all these different places. And again, that's the whole reason why I'm doing this. The whole reason I wanted to do this and get into this industry and saying yes has led me to so many different places. And I'm sure you have other questions about those, but Big Noon Kickoff was awesome. Everyone there was awesome. It was fun getting to see the dynamic of what we just talked about with College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff, because one of those weeks they were in the same town. So getting to see
yeah, that's true.
And I think the weekend that we were there for that, I think Fox Big Noon Kickoff had Lil Wayne, and ESPN College Game Day had The Rock. And so like being able to be there and see that firsthand, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's like all the little things that come with it, like the musical performances, and I guess, just being backstage and like, interacting with the guys who run the show and, providing all the help. I mean, that is such a cool experience. I mean, so many mornings just like, I mean, sometimes I don't always like watch the pregame shows, but usually like I do often enough. Like that is like kind of a staple of like watching college football, is like starting the day with these crazy shows where they they do headgear picks and they do this, and they also do a lot of analysis, and there's stories, and there's like a lot that goes on in those 2 hours, 3 hours leading up to the game, building hype. So I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, like, like I said, like the just say yes kind of thing, like coming to life, and I guess giving you more opportunities, because like that's what happens. Like when you say yes to one thing, like other things come from it. And maybe if even if you don't like the first one, like you might like the later ones, or you might like all of them. So I mean, like, obviously in this case, it's like, you're obviously gonna like all of them. But I guess another like one of those things was like, you got to do a lot of stuff with the NBA, like, working like WNBA All-Star Weekend, and then NBA All-Star Week last year when I was in Indy, and then the finals, like the Pacers obviously making the run that they did. We definitely want to talk some of that too, because that was a big thing. But I mean, like, I guess what was it like to do that? I mean, I'm sure everyone's like, that's a big dream, and like to even be able to go to like a finals game, let alone like work it.
So again, it's the just say yes notion, man. We're gonna start this movement here. It's just say yes, man.
Yeah.
Everybody.
That's what I was taught. So I mean, yeah, it always like comes back to me, I guess. Yeah.
It does, man. And so, Big Noon Kickoff said yes to that. Said yes to all the Big Ten stuff along the way, and then NBA All-Star Week was coming to Indianapolis last year, and the crewing coordinator for the company that crewed for the NBA called my Big Ten lady and asked her if she knew anybody in Indianapolis that wanted to work. And so the person who had been getting me work for 2 years prior to that with the Big Ten Network and Fox and stuff, that was the person that was reached out to about NBA people. And so because I said yes to all of that, I then was the person that she recommended for the NBA stuff. And so was fortunate enough to get to work during the NBA All-Star Week here in Indianapolis. Got to work with an incredible camera crew. We got to go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We got to see all the murals, all the stuff downtown, and then actually getting to work, with a cameraman, the All-Star Week, and basically anybody you can imagine, all the players, the only person I didn't see that time in Indianapolis was LeBron. But that's also because like LeBron's a ghost, and you don't see, like, it's the same as Caitlin Clark. If you're at the WNBA All-Star game, you won't see her. Same as at the NBA, you won't see LeBron because he's only there for the time he has to be.
Right.
And that's not a knock. I'm just saying to you, like, it's the same with Michael Jordan. It's the same with whoever your favorite player is. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to see him.
Yeah, because they've already done like I'm sure like more than enough like media rounds, I guess, at that point. So
even like Steph Curry. Like Steph Curry walked in, and I was like, "Oh, Steph Curry," and then he was gone. And you're like, "Where did he go?" And you're like, "Oh, he took his pictures and he's done." It was incredible getting to see at the highest level, and I'll tie the All-Star game in with the finals. Same place, same location, same city, same venue.
Right.
But you're getting to see stuff at the highest level. The camera people, the production workers, the women who work behind the scenes. Like, you are literally getting to see everything at the highest level, because that's what it is. For those events, for those specific events, that's what it is. The best camera people, the best everything. And it's really cool because, again, we've seen it at the college level. So we're getting to see it at essentially the beginning stages. And then you get to see it at the NBA Finals or the All-Star game, and it's the best of the best. And everyone is so giving, and so, obviously you have to work hard and do your job and all those things, but everyone's so giving in regards to information and connections and what do you want to do? Because, again, you're going to get your 5 seconds or your 10 seconds where you're going to tell somebody what you want to do or what your dream is. And everyone is very giving with information and advice and all of those things. And that's the biggest thing that I take from all of it is, again, it's cool getting to be there backstage, behind the curtain, getting to see these people up close. That's cool. a couple of times, but eventually it's what else. And the what else for me is getting to learn from these people who have 40 years experience, who again, like, I'll tell you this, man, there was a guy who I worked with. I didn't personally, like, it wasn't my camera guy, but I worked with him. It was his 40th NBA finals. So he has done every single NBA finals from Bird and Magic in 85 to today. All of them. And so, like, this guy has literally seen three generations of everything. And so,
like Jordan, LeBron, like all those,
LeBron, Bird,
Steph Curry, the Warriors, like the whole 9 yards. Yeah,
correct. And so those people have such a plethora of information to share. And that's the biggest thing that I would say for myself or for anyone else that wants to get into this and do this is, like, put your ego aside and go talk to somebody. Ask a question. Ask somebody something, because that person has so much information that they can share with you, and they want to. Like, most of them want to share that information with you because they're not going to be doing it much longer. But those are the big things that I can take away from those. Obviously, then the WNBA All-Star game this past, couple weeks ago, incredible. It was awesome getting to see it backstage, and like, I wish because I know it's a big topic right now, and the WNBA and their players getting paid and that kind of stuff. I wish that they could turn that league into a reality show, and you could literally see how these people live normally, because you yourself being in media, that, like, even the athletes that you cover, some of them, like, they can't be their real self. They can't talk the way that they would talk around their family. And I don't mean racially or disrespectfully. I'm saying that, like, we're all taught in a PR way. We're all taught to talk in a PR way, and broadcasting and all that. Like, there's a way we talk and all that, like, in a PR way that's not, upsetting anybody. If they would let if you could see the behind the scenes of the WNBA and they could put that into a reality show, it'd be the highest rated television show or the highest streamed show. Like, everyone would lose their minds, because, like, it's entertaining, it's exciting, it's fun. The girls talk crap just like the guys do. Even more so, I'm sure, which is
probably like all the stuff with, like, Caitlin Clark and, like, like all that stuff. I mean,
I love it.
Pushed around a little bit too much, but yeah, I mean, it makes it fun in some ways. Like, the rivalry between her and Reese, and, like, all of this going on. Like, and WNBA is good basketball, and it's a lot of fun, and so many of them are, like, good shooters. Like, it's like a different, like, I don't know. I mean, it's not different. It's like, I mean, they're skilled, like, just like the guys are, and it's very entertaining and competitive. Like, I mean, I would not knock it, especially as someone who's, like, watched and covered, like, Rutgers women's hoops and, like, around the Big Ten. Like, I mean, I've turned on, like, the WNBA games. Like, it's a lot of fun, and it's like good real basketball. And I think you're right. Like, I mean, like, in terms of the reality series, like, I think that would be really entertaining. I mean, like, it's kind of like, I'm thinking of, like, quarterback and stuff like that, like how they go inside their lives and all the pressure. And, like, I really enjoyed, like, watching the first season. I have to watch, I guess, the second season, or at least part of that. I mean, it's probably something similar to that. Like, the behind the scenes is always, like, really interesting to see, like, what really goes into it and all of that kind of stuff.
I like, from what I saw 2 weekends ago in Indy at the All-Star weekend, like, the league's going to explode and explode in a great way with lots of money. But it needs to be sold in the right way. And then, like, it needs to be, like, you need to be able to see these people be real people.
Themselves,
and not pretend or not, what they think you want to see. Like, no, I want to see this person really live. But no, those experiences were incredible. I loved all of them. And I ask myself this every year, like, what's next? What gets better? How does this get better? And I, like, it's pinch myself moments all the time. And that's the one thing that I can't, like, you can't, like, put a dollar amount or a price on that. It's just being able to do this stuff and see this stuff.
That's really cool.
And now I have my best friend. I've gotten my best friend on a couple of gigs, and so he's doing it now too. And so it's just, I love it, man. And I love doing this. And, like, I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah, like, it's like once you get in this kind of mindset, it's hard to, like, want to do, like, anything else. So you're always, like, locked in. You're always, like, thinking of how to get better and what's next and other opportunities and what else can I write, what else can I do, how else can I learn. I don't know. It becomes like a lifestyle. Like, I didn't think I could get more invested than radio, but now that I'm writing, like, even now I'm like trying to keep up with all the latest developments in like Rutgers athletics, and like now we hired an AD, and like like I'm trying to like write pieces on that, do like emergency podcast on that for our that podcast, which will happen later. So I mean, it's always just like things are moving around. It's a lot of fun. I guess like another, I guess the final thing on this careers part of it. You did play-by-play for the Rockford Rivets. In the beginning, you mentioned you're from there. I guess that's like a minor league baseball team, I want to say.
So the Rockford Rivets play in the Northwoods League, and the Northwoods League is a college wood bat league here in the Midwest. And it's have you heard of the Cape League?
Yeah, it's like a
Okay,
summer league, right? Like for college baseball players, basically.
So it's very similar to the Cape League, but it's college baseball players that are freshmen, sophomore. Some of them a little bit older, but around the freshman, sophomore range. That don't play as frequently on their college teams, that are looking to get some playing time or get some more reps on the field. And hold on just a second. Sorry about that. It's so those college athletes are looking to get more reps on the field when they don't normally get them on their own teams. So there's like 30 teams. They do about 60 games a year, and then they have a playoffs at the end of the summer. Great experience. A lot of really good players. The teams change very frequently because every year the coaching staffs, obviously they get different coaches that come in there, and then those coaches bring in different players. But the coaching staff that Rockford had last season, Will Oberg, he's a really, really good baseball coach. He's an up and coming guy here in Indiana. But he put together a really good team. Maddox Mikalakis was the MVP of the team. He played for the Arizona State Sun Devils this season. Kid was insane. He batted over 400 in the season. He's a stud for Arizona State. But it was awesome, man. 36 games, which I don't know how many games a year you've done at your school, but 36 games in about a 2.5 month period. Doing pretty much games every other day. We also had to do a 5-minute pregame show for each one of the 36 games. And then we also did the post-game interviews and post-game show after each one of the home games, which absolutely incredible. It was fun. We enjoyed doing it. It's a lot, especially when you get towards the end of the summer and you've been doing a bunch of games. But it's the best way to get better. It's the best way to learn. It's the best way to, get those reps that you're looking for, kind of a thing. And then I'm trying to think. There was a couple of games on ESPN Plus during the season. That was pretty cool. A little fun little thing. But yeah, Northwoods League. It's a great place for young broadcasters to get some reps. And there's 30 different teams, and so every year they're looking for 30 broadcasters, and so it's a great opportunity for young broadcasters to get reps. You can get time in front of the screen and get on camera, and every team's different, but we shot commercials. I didn't realize. I thought I was just I thought I was coming into broadcast games, and then I had to write a commercial and shoot a commercial, and so we did that, which that was another fun experience of getting to write and shoot a commercial for the first time. So that's a great breeding ground for young broadcasters, especially somebody who's just trying to get more reps. And I can't stress that enough, and I can't put over how good the Northwoods League is. And getting those opportunities for guys like that, guys and girls, because now they got the softball league too, which is awesome. The Northwood Softball League as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've seen on LinkedIn, I follow a lot of people in the industry of broadcasters. A lot of them are doing gigs like that, summer baseball, probably your league and the Cape League, other stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, now I know more about it. So I guess when I see those posts and stuff like that, I mean, like you said, it's more experience, and I mean, in a short time period, and keeps you involved. And I've seen I saw a story where the broadcasters they really got some of them got their start by doing things like that. And I think that's really cool. I mean, sometimes you think of oh, I want to do I want to go straight to the top, I want to do NFL, I want to do this, but it's hard to get there. And on the way, doing things like this could definitely not only be experiences, but they could also they could also teach you a lot, and you can contribute a lot. So I think it's the best of both worlds. It's kind of doing student radio at college. You're getting to see real big time teams, and also do it also learn. Like it's definitely great. Or like the Big Ten Student U program. But I guess with all of that like discussed, I mean you've had like a lot of opportunities. Like I guess in terms of like what's coming up like next year, obviously you're coming back to Purdue, I guess. Is this going to be like your last like year at Purdue? Like
Yep. This is my senior year at Purdue. I'll be graduating next May. And I'm very excited for the upcoming year. I know we talked about it a little bit already, but year 2 of Boiler Center on Purdue Sports socials and on YouTube. Year 2 of Purdue football kickoff. The kickoff or the pregame show for the football team this season. We're doing all 12 games. We got some interviews with the players this season. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And then the normal full slate of Big Ten Plus games. I'm right around 50 games this season. Over the 6 sports that I do. I'll be doing a little bit more soccer this season with JJ Palmer, who's been our soccer guy the last couple of years. He's awesome. So I'll be doing a little bit more soccer this fall because we have a couple more games. Also, they just announced they're going to announce here pretty shortly the Big Ten softball tournament is going to be in West Lafayette this season. Purdue will be hosting. I'm sorry, the Big Ten soccer tournament. Excuse me. Purdue is going to be hosting the Big Ten soccer tournament this season, so the first 2 rounds are going to be here in West Lafayette. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be cool. I'm not for 100% certain yet, but I'm pretty sure Big Ten Plus has a couple of those games, so that means that we'll get to call a couple of those. But I'm excited for another year, man. One more year, but another year in the Big Ten Student U, another year on campus here at Purdue. Exciting sports ahead for Purdue this season. Purdue football in year 1 of Barry Odom. Looking to turn the page, hoping to replicate what Indiana did last year with a new coach and a new team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I know you don't want to hear this or talk about this, but Purdue men's basketball hopefully winning a national championship in Indiana this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're always like pretty up there. I mean, they made the national championship game a couple of years ago, so I mean, like they're always going to be in the conversation. It's like a weird rebuilding phase for Rutgers, but hopefully. I don't know. After coming off the disappointing season like that they had, like it's just like they made some transfer moves. So it's all about getting better. So I mean, as long as they're decently competitive, I don't think fans will really be too disappointed. Yeah, I mean, Purdue basketball is going to be pretty up there. I guess I did want to like talk about some of that stuff. I mean, like obviously, like with the Pacers, like I see the Sirs thing. Like actually, my co-host is on the Banks. Our show is like a Pacers fan, so. Talking to him, like, it was a really interesting playoffs. I mean, with the NBA, and obviously, unfortunate injuries came about with like Tatum, and like eventually Halliburton. The Knicks had a big run, which like even though I'm a Nets fan, being in New York, just seeing the vibe of that was pretty fun. I mean, I can't like it was one of the first times I probably ever rooted for the Knicks for any series in my life, but I kind of had to catch a wave, and then the Pacers, of course, being fun too. I mean, like the comeback kings themselves. I mean, like. Obviously, I feel like a lot of America's probably with like the Pacers. I mean, the Thunder were like a juggernaut in their own right, and Shea's like incredible. Narratives aside and everything. I mean, he's a great player. Jalen Williams, another great player. I mean, that series was just like, like a few plays here and there. I mean, it could have changed. Like either team, I think, could have won. If Halliburton, I think, was about to have a magical Game 7. Like, I mean, he's not necessarily known for being like that kind of a dead-eye shooter, but like he opened up with 3 like long range threes. Like he's like, I'm gonna do this myself, and also it's like he's gonna go off today. He's gonna have like 40, which is like very unusual the way he plays basketball. And like then he tears ACL. But I mean, what was the whole run or Achilles? But what was that run? Like and then McConnell. I mean, the way he played, that was great. There was just so many great moments with the Pacers this playoffs. Well, I mean, I guess as a fan of the team, like. What was that run like for you? Watching them, and you even got to go to the final, so you got to see that in person too.
Yeah, I worked games 3, 4, and 6 for the NBA. It was awesome getting to see. It was awesome. Game 6 was electric. The place was so loud.
Yeah.
It was obviously just a blowout, but honestly, to sum up the whole series, an Achilles tendon is the difference between the Pacers winning the NBA champions and not.
Yeah, I think they would have definitely. I'm sure with the way Halliburton was about to have probably the game of his life. Like I think they would have won that one on the road. But yeah, oh well.
And the NBA is weird, man. Like and weird in a good way because there was a time period where the talent was isolated to one or two teams, and now it seems like the talent started to spread out to a lot of different teams, and a lot of teams are good. I know Houston's reloading next year with KD. You know, they're going to be good. You know, Indy's supposed to be good again. You know, LA's rebuilding.
Yeah.
So,
The East is very like wide open next year with like the injuries with the Celtics. I mean, like the Knicks, like the Cavs, like the Magic, like all these the Pistons, like all these teams could come out and like seize the moment. Like, I mean, a lot of people are saying this is probably going to be as good as a year of any with the Knicks. Like they're kind of trying to build something similar to what the Pacers have in terms of continuity and culture. So we'll see. I mean, if that happens, it's going to be a lot of buzz in the city. So, I mean, it should be fun. But yeah, I mean, like obviously unfortunate what happened with the Pacers, but they were very close. I mean, I think they would have probably like in a lot of other years they would have won the championship. Even this year, like you said, they probably would have. But again, the Thunder were like historically a dominant team, and now in the West, I mean, the Nuggets like look really good next year. The Rockets, like you said, they have KD. I mean, the Lakers are I'm sure going to be around the Warriors. Like the Clippers, like they signed some guys. Like they've you know, a bunch of veterans now on their team. So yeah, basketball's fun. I mean, like, you know, as a Nets fan, like they're also rebuilding. But I mean, I was watching some summer league, like Igor Demin, he looked pretty good. So I mean, I'm interested to see like what goes on. And yeah, there's just so many storylines. I mean, the Sixers, if they can get it together, this might be like an optimal year for them too. I mean, like there's just so many injury concerns with them, but like if they could pull it together, I mean, they have like as much talent as any like in the league. So who knows with the East? But I feel like the East is wide open for any number of teams. I mean, the Pacers, I wouldn't necessarily count them out entirely either. I mean, they still have a lot of the other guys. I mean, like we saw like what McConnell did. Like, you know, I mean, you know, and Siakam, I mean, obviously they moved Turner over to, you know, Milwaukee, and then Dame signed with Portland. It's just been like a big NBA offseason of like ripple effects. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see coming into the new year what those teams do. I'm not going to count out Indiana. I think they're going to be good again. Obviously, they're going to be without Tyrese, but I think they're going to be good again. But I'm going to put my money on Houston for next year. I really like Fred VanVleet, and as long as KD can stay healthy, I think that they got a shot down there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that moves along here with the new NBA season starting up in October.
For sure. Yeah, I think they got a good core around them. I mean, I think KD could help. I mean, I think they still have Amen Thompson and, you know, VanVleet. I think they could have enough. I mean, the Thunder are going to be like obviously the team to beat, but they're not unbeatable. I mean, the Nuggets almost had them, and they got better. They had the big Cam Johnson trade, so like, you know, and then with Jokic and, you know, for Porter, so they made some moves. I think they got like Valanciunas, so they should be interesting too. I mean, around Jokic and Murray. And then I guess in terms of like, I mean, I already kind of talked about a bit of it, but like, you know, like what are you looking forward to, like with Purdue football, basketball coming up? I mean, there's nothing really for, I guess, basketball, you know, like you said, expectations are high. For football, well, the way I see you guys is like after 1-11, like, I mean that, you know, I think, well, first of all, I mean, like with the start of your schedule, I mean, I think Ball State and Indiana State or whoever you guys are playing in the first couple of weeks, like I think those are very winnable games. I think it's Illinois State actually, but I think those two are pretty winnable. And then after that, it's like, you know, trying to get more wins. I mean, like I saw the line was like 3.5. I think there's definitely conference games that are winnable on there. But I mean, like you said, like first year Barry Odom, a lot of transfers coming in this roster, a lot of people around the league. Like we're trying to preview like Rutgers opponents. So like a lot of people don't know exactly what to expect, but I would assume like they're definitely, I think, going to be better and more competitive than they were like a season ago for sure.
Honestly, people are going to think I'm crazy for this or laugh when I say it. 7 wins. I think Purdue's going to get 7 wins this year.
Wow.
And I mean, obviously the first 2 weeks, Ball State and then Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
you know, those are games that if you don't win, then obviously 7's not. If you don't win those games, you're not going to worry about 7. Honestly, I think with what I've seen with the players that Barry's brought here and what they've started to do, starting all the way back when he got here in January, 6 a.m. workouts. I talked to a couple players on campus earlier on before that, and they didn't know what a 6 a.m. practice was. Meaning that, you know, last year's team, there wasn't a lot of effort there. And it's 1-11, you can clearly see that. But what I saw in the change in January was the current players, the players that were here before Barry Odom got here, were introduced to 6 a.m. practices and introduced to some more accountability. And I think that that's the biggest thing, because there's a lot of talent on campus last year. And not that, we're not trying to, win a Heisman Trophy or, break any records, but like, there was a lot of good talent in the locker room in Purdue last year, and the record really doesn't show the talent, but the talent wasn't managed properly. And I feel that with the new coaching staff, I feel like, 7 wins, although a lot, especially after the previous 2 seasons, but I think with what Barry Odom brought in here from UNLV, the other transfers that came in from down south in the SEC schools that Barry Odom had contact with, or the guys had contact with before that, on top of the core players that are still here, Devin Mockabee, Ethan Trent trying to work his way into the offensive lineup this season. There's a lot of good players here in West Lafayette, and so I think Purdue's going to surprise some people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say Purdue's going to go 11-0, 12-0 like Indiana did last year to start out, but I do feel like it's going to be a different team on the field, and I feel like that the win-loss record is going to reflect that. And anything short of a bowl game this year for Purdue, I think, is a letdown, especially with what they have here. But then again, as you've mentioned before, and with Rutgers, like, Purdue can come out and surprise you. It could be, an undefeated Ohio State team that comes to town and Purdue surprises some people.
Yeah,
that's still in the cards as well. But yeah, football. I'm going to say football at 7 wins, in a bowl game, in my opinion. And then the basketball team, and I'm not trying to set the world on fire or call anything or any hot shots, but if Purdue's season doesn't end in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, there's a problem. There is a lot of talent. Matt Painter has reloaded. Omer Mayer being the main one that's coming in this season. But the talent that's in West Lafayette, if the season doesn't end in Lucas Oil Stadium, and I'm not. Let me say that I'm not calling a national championship. I'm saying if Purdue doesn't make it to the Final Four, then there's a problem, because there's so much talent, and this season the team's motivated for that. And it's the extra motivation of knowing that this year the Final Four is not in San Antonio, it's in Indianapolis.
I see. The home field could definitely play a big role on that. I mean, for sure.
But yeah, those are my 2. Obviously, the Big Ten is going to be tough in both football, but basketball mainly. The January-February run to March is the hardest.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet.
Going on the road in the Big Ten in February and March is difficult, and so that's going to be fun. Obviously, Rutgers, no one wants to go there.
Exactly.
Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue at the top.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fun year for both. But I'm really excited for football to get started here in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm really excited to get that kickoff going against Ball State here.
Week 1 is like always an exciting time, especially when you have like some winnable games on the schedule, like right off the bat. Like, I know for Rutgers it's interesting. I mean, like, they're not like we play some of the best teams in the MAC like early on, so like Ohio, Miami, Ohio. I mean, those are games you can't really sleep on. I mean, like, conference champions, and they could spring an upset. I mean, we almost saw it like with Northwestern, like Miami, Ohio last season. So Rutgers has to be ready. I don't doubt that they'd win. They won't win those, but they have to be ready. And then, I mean, from there, its schedule gets really tough. I mean, there's the Rutgers Purdue game. I mean, Rutgers has to win these types of games, like in the conference too. Like Maryland, they have to start 3-0, which Rutgers has been doing like year after year now under Greg Schiano. And then they have to beat teams like, I mean, hopefully Purdue, Maryland, like just to get to 5. I mean, then there's tougher opponents like in the middle, like Iowa, Minnesota, Washington, which I've identified as the big 3-game stretch, because all of those are like very toss-up-y, but Iowa's kind of been like a tier above Rutgers, where it's like it doesn't feel like they'll ever bearing something like a big change. Like, it feels like they're always like the better team for whatever reason, and this year like they're bringing in a good quarterback, and there's going to be more fireworks in that game than years past, which is exciting. And then back end of the schedule, Illinois, Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, final 4 weeks, ending with Penn State and Ohio State. So that's going to be pretty tough. So, I mean, they have to get their wins in early. I mean, I know Notre Dame has Purdue on the schedule, the return game in that. So there's, some tough ones on there. They also play Ohio State. I mean, are you like, I mean, I know you predicted 7 wins. Like, I mean, are you like looking at games like Northwestern, Rutgers, like, I don't even know, like, some of these other ones like Washington, like Indiana, like some of these, like, these games against like the non like big time teams, I guess, in terms of like the win base, I guess, because it's kind of a high number. They're gonna have to. They play a tough, like for where they are in the conference. They play a relatively tough schedule. But not to say that there aren't wins on there, but I mean they're gonna have to go through teams like Illinois, maybe, or USC, Minnesota, Northwestern, Washington, like Rutgers. They're gonna have to like beat some teams in the middle of the conference, like if not like the top end to get to their 6 or 7. Even.
I mean, honestly, like there's only 3. Well, 1, 2. There's only really 3 games on the schedule that right now, and I'm not saying that it won't be 4 with USC, but there's only 3 games on the schedule that are like those
Definite
tough
losses.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah,
Those are 3. So then that leaves you at 9.
yeah.
So there's 9 games on the schedule that I feel like Purdue could win, and USC being one of those. But that's also on the fence because, again, which USC team is showing up in West Lafayette, and they have to come to Purdue and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's the one that's kind of on the fence. But then, like you said, the other ones, Illinois, Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Washington, and then Indiana. I'm not saying that those are gimme games. We're like, obviously I'm saying that Ball State, State, SIU are gimme games. Those are the ones we have.
You gotta get those for sure. Yeah.
But those other ones that I just listed, those are games that I feel could be competitive games. That they may go the other way and we may end up losing them. But I think those are games that Purdue could be competitively in games where they could have a chance to win.
I would say so. I mean, with even a decent amount of improvement, I mean, they could definitely be in like pretty much all the games that you just mentioned. And I mean, I think they would have a pretty decent chance of like at least the Northwestern, Washington. I mean, they're playing home against Rutgers, like, things like that, like home against Indiana, like,
home against USC. Yeah.
Home against USC. Yeah. There's a lot of like toss-up-y. I mean, I wouldn't really say toss-up-y considering like where Purdue was last season, but there's a lot of games where Purdue could definitely be in the fight and they could, like you said, like other than the 3 of those, like, and it's kind of like the same with Rutgers too. I mean, other than Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State, I mean, there's really no game that Rutgers can't be in. I mean, maybe you could argue Illinois might be a tough ask, but even if you assume that's a loss, there's still 8 winnable games on the schedule. So out of those, is Rutgers going to win every game? Probably not. No. But like, I mean, like, can they? Yeah. I mean, like, so that's where I would have my range around like 7 to. Hopefully 7 to 8, but at least 6. I mean, that's I tend to be like a little bit optimistic, but I mean, as long as the teams can be in the game, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, they've gotten a lot better. The roster's better. It's just a matter of execution. And are they going to win all 3 home against Iowa and 2 tough ones on the road, Minnesota, Washington? Probably not. But I mean, can they win 2 out of 3? Then if they can, then like, they're probably bowling as long as they also beat Purdue and Maryland. So, I mean, that's kind of like the key to the game, I guess. But yeah,
that's where things get wild though, because like Rutgers or Purdue, but like if you win 1 or 2 of those, like let's say you get that early game against Iowa, or you get the game against Ohio State or something, that's motivating and can springboard you to 3 or 4 victories that you may or may not were counting.
It's momentum. If they win against Iowa, I mean, that could propel them to win those 2 next ones on the road. But if they lose to Iowa, then suddenly with the momentum.
2 or 3.
Exactly. Like, it's always like upsetting to me a little bit because like Rutgers has always been like, as bad as they've somehow been able to scrape by the non-con even like most of the time. But then when Big Ten play started, they used to like, it just flipped around. But now that Rutgers has been getting good enough to a point where they're pretty still competitive, and last year they beat Virginia Tech on the road, beat Washington at home, and like, I mean, then October the ship like kind of sunk, and then November they turn it around. So hopefully this year, nothing crazy like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if they beat Iowa, that could propel them to maybe 6-0. If they lose, they might lose 2 of 3 of those, and now the season's pointing in the wrong direction. So yeah, momentum's a big thing. We'll see how things go. But I mean, I guess in terms of the Big Ten, like to end off over here. But I mean, like in general, I mean, Big Ten's won 2 national championships. A lot of people are like pretty high on like Penn State this year, returning a lot of production. Ohio State, again, coming off a national championship. Like, where do you see like the top of this league, like stacking up in terms of the CFP? Like, do you think the Big Ten has a 3rd national championship in them? Like, where do you see Indiana? I know that's like might be of interest to you as well. Like, coming off their 11-1.
I see Indiana bringing a bucket back to West Lafayette on Black Friday and leaving it here. That's kind of what I say.
That's fair.
Again, it's a toss-up. I'll say this. I feel like the Big Ten will win a third national championship. I don't have a prediction as to who or what, or which team that will be. Again, you mentioned a couple. We have Penn State, you have Ohio State, you have Michigan trying to come back again this year. Don't forget about Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon's they're going to be in the mix too, of course. Yeah.
The Big Ten is the best conference in college football. That's my opinion, and we're proving that the last 2 seasons. And so I feel like the national champion comes from the Big Ten Conference again. I don't know who that will be, but again, there's a lot of good options. But I feel like the Big Ten will win the conference champion or win the national championship again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like, I mean, Oregon could make a run. I mean, Ohio State could go back to back potentially. I mean, Penn State. It seems like it could be Penn State's year potentially, but a lot would have to. I mean, they have to, exercise their demons, I guess, again in big games and with Ohio State whatnot. But yeah, no, I mean, I think so too. I mean, I think probably in all likelihood, like we'll probably come out of the Big Ten. I mean, I'm pretty high on Texas too. They're returning a lot of people, and Arch Manning. I mean, that week 1 showdown between Texas and Ohio State, I think it's going to say a lot. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, do you have I guess just to end this off, do you have I would assume maybe you're a Colts fan, being from Indiana, or no?
I'm a Bears fan.
Bears fan, interesting. Well, I mean, do you have any takes on on the Bears or just on the NFL going into 2025? I know for the Giants and I guess the Bears are both kind of trying to put a lot together, rebuilding and whatnot. So coming up in tough divisions. But I mean, do you have any takes for what you think might happen in the National Football League?
I think the Bears are going to be better this year. I think the Bears need to rebuild their offensive line and protect Caleb Williams. Yeah. And once they do that, then they'll be just fine. Rebuilding the defense, or not rebuilding, but adding to the defense. But honestly, I think it's a 2-team league in the NFL. I think it's the Chiefs and whoever else plays them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Chiefs are inevitable, and I think the weird part is how weirdly they won so many games last year with special teams. Their defense was elite. I think they deserved more credit than they were getting, and on offense they kind of were able to figure it out. And the wheels kind of fell off against the Eagles, which was really unfortunate for me to see as a Giants fan. I mean, the way that the pass rush got there, but again, they fixed the O-line. I mean, they're added some receivers this year. They have, I think, 2 or 3 different guys like Rashee Rice, although I think he has a suspension, but Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown are all back. I mean, I think Mahomes is going to be able to sling the ball a bit more this year, which I think was missing a little bit last year. And so I mean, and obviously as a Rutgers guy like Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt in that run game, I think they added someone else too that's a little bit more shifty as well. So I think that might play a role. I mean, even in their worst year, the Chiefs are usually in the AFC title game or Super Bowl, and I think this year might be an up year for them. So in terms of the NFC, I mean, it could be Philly, it could be Washington, Detroit. I mean, there's definitely a lot of options. I mean, I guess the other questions are, can the Ravens or the Bills potentially, knock off Kansas City in the AFC? But I feel like the Chiefs are just inevitable, and that's on a bad year. In a good year, they could go all the way. Hopefully, the Eagles don't end up winning another Super Bowl. That's all I really hope for at this point, I guess. But any other option, the NFC, I'd probably take, because I'm pretty sure the Cowboys aren't going to get there. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, they're usually overhyped. Anyway, but I don't know, a lot to talk about. I think that kind of brings us to a good place to end the episode. I did want to spend a lot of August actually doing kind of this stuff, with these NFL previews, take a look at the NFC, the AFC, college football. I want to do a little Big Ten, a little bit of the other conferences as well. And then week 1 is going to be such a loaded week of games. I want to do a little pick'em style show for my 100th episode for Sports Vibe, which is going to be pretty sick. But obviously having you on, I think we had a really good conversation. I learned a lot about your experiences, Big Ten, at the Big Ten Student U, as well as, I mean, all the different things, NBA Finals and the Big Noon Kickoff, and, just your experiences. And, of course, I love to talk sports and getting to talk about everything Big Ten related and, around the NBA and the NFL. That's also, a lot of fun. So definitely, kind of matches, my, my vibe and my vision for this, for the Just Vibing series in particular. But yeah, this has been another episode of Just Vibing. Stay tuned throughout the month of August, as I mentioned, for all the football previews. And as I like to say, the vibes are always high on Sports Vibe.